أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. My name is Saif Alruhaili. We started these lectures, or let's say discussions, about some verses, messages, and commands in the Holy Quran, I think now 3 years ago. And thank you all for attending and giving some of your time for this discussion. And today I'm going to speak about something could be very important, and maybe sometimes we have not think about arguments in the Holy Quran. We always think about the facts. We think about points of discussions, points of what is right, what is wrong, but also the arguments, the way we argue, and the subject of argument needs to be highlighted. This will be in the benefits of the one who argue for the sake of the Quran, or the one who wants to understand something, or want to question or have some questions, let's say, about the commands or the ideas or the facts in the Holy Quran. Anyways, first of all, I hope this is not covering the slides. Don't know how to make it go away, but anyways, first of all, we need to understand that it is our nature. It is in our nature that we argue. Okay, these arguments could be for any reasons. It could be for ego reasons. If it could be for personal issues. Maybe you are depressed. Maybe you are angry. Maybe you have some issues with controlling yourself, whatsoever. So the arguments, or having different ideas, having different way of thinking, is something normal. That's we need first of all to agree on. Okay. So we can argue. We can argue, for instance, about what is the best color of the car. Some will say red, some will say black, some will say white, and each one will have their own reasons. Okay, they can justify that argument they have. Okay, how many rooms you should have in your house? What is the best country to go for tourism? What subject is the best to study? Whatsoever, we can argue. That's easy. The only thing we need to know that it is in our nature that we love to argue. Okay, we like to present our ideas. The best way, it gives you a feeling when you prove that you are right. Okay, when you prove something is right and you are adopting that idea. So this is very important, because when it comes to religion, when it comes to Quran, when it comes to the commands of Allah, definitely our habit, our nature will interfere with the way we react with this holy book. Okay? And this is very critical. It's very crucial that you know this, because sometimes if you don't, then maybe you are not arguing for the sake of Allah. Maybe you are arguing for the sake of your self-satisfaction. And that is very dangerous. Okay? So now here we understand and we agree that it is in our nature to argue, and there are different reasons, and maybe there are lots. Maybe if you study psychology, you will find that there are lots and lots of reasons that a person would like to argue. Sometimes even it's the subject does not deserve to have that sort of discussion, but the people are interested to have this arguments. Now, before you argue, you need to know certain things. Okay, and that is very important. Before you get into any argument, you need to know certain things. Okay, and now I am speaking if you are arguing any fact, any idea, any commands, any issues of halal or haram, any subject about the faith, about believing in Allah, about the Quran, about the next life, any sort of discussion or argument, you need to know this rule number one. Okay, And that rule, what is stating is, that rule, what is stating that ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن. So that's in chapter 16, Surah An-Nahl, okay, verses 125. Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good advice, and debate with them in the most dignified manner. So if you are going to get into argument about any subject, any idea, any sort of things related to Allah or this Quran, then you cannot do it except this way, in the most dignified manner. And I will come later on why did the instruction came like this. But this is very important. When you discuss, when you debate, when you argue about anything related to this Quran, you don't have permission to do it the way you think it's good, the way you think it's fine to do it, okay? With anger or with mockery or whatsoever. That's not allowed at all in the Holy Book. The only way you want to get in a debate with any person, atheist, from other religions like Christians, Jewish, Hindus, whatsoever, if you are going even with other Muslims that they have different ideas or different understanding of the Quran, the only way you can do this debate with them is in the most dignified manner. And that is very important because sometimes you think you are debating for the sake of Allah or for the sake of the fact, but actually we're going back with this thing. You are doing this for your own interest. You have some personal issues, maybe you have ego issues, maybe the thing you are arguing with have some conflicts, maybe your way of understanding is low, but you want to prove something right. So whatsoever, this is to save you, okay? To save you from doing something more harmful to others, okay? So that's rule number one. If you are going to debate in the most dignified manner, okay? Secondly, Allah said, وَلَا تُجَادِلُوا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Do not argue, okay, the people of the scripture, except in the best manner possible, okay? Of course, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْهُمْ, except those who do wrong, actually there is no use to argue with them. But there will come times when people, even from the people of the scripture, will come to you and they want to argue with you. They want to argue lots of subjects. Is Jesus the Son of the Lord? Why wine is forbidden? Why there is hell? Why there is heaven? Why is this? Why is that? You don't have the green light to lose your temper. You don't have the green light to mock. You don't have the green light to whatsoever you think is suitable. The instruction is to do it with the best manner, the most dignified manner, okay? And the only message you get from here, that whatever subject related to the Quran, to the faith of Islam, it's not a subject of you. You're not the star here. It's a subject of delivering the truth. And there are lots of consequences if you think you are the truth. Not the word of Allah, you think you are the truth. And you try to defend yourself, you try to keep your ego, and then you might use whatsoever ways or methods you think it is suitable. Okay? Now, we know how to argue, okay? But whom are you arguing with, okay? With whom you are arguing. That's a very critical subject. And that is another area you need to know before you get into any sort of argument. Okay? So someone comes to you and say, I don't believe there is hell and heaven. Before you answer, you need to know this person, who he is. Okay? That is very important for you. Is he ignorant? He wants to look for the truth, or he is other types? There are the top dangerous two types that wants to argue about anything related to the holy book are firstly these people, the one you are seeing in the screen now. Okay? إن الذين يجادلون في آيات الله بغير سلطان أتاهم إن في صدورهم إلا كبر ما هم ببالغي. There is nothing in their hearts but the feeling of greatness, which they will never attain. So you meet a person and he thinks he is bigger than the Lord. He is bigger than this world. He is bigger than the heavens. There is once you know this, that's you know how to control your temper. Now it's not as in the argument, it's not subject of a truth. It's a subject of ego he has. So Allah immediately, He didn't say go argue with him. See, they are arguing, those who dispute regarding God's revelations. Okay, إن الذين يجادلون في آيات الله. Allah didn't say here go and argue with him or argue with them. He just informed you what is their problem. And I'm sure you have came across such kinds. Okay, and these types of people, you don't argue at all. You don't argue with these types of people because the outcomes will be zero. He feels he is greater than the Lord. He feels he is greater than anything here. Okay, so you be very careful. You need to be very careful. Why? Because if you get in arguments with these sort of people, what will happen that it will lead you to lose your temper and then cross the line. And then you will be making mistakes. Allah said immediately, فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ. So seek, okay, استعذ بالله. So you are asking for the help of Allah from these people. And now we see this a lot in social media. Sometimes a person, maybe he's da'iyah, maybe he's a believer, maybe he's a true believer of Allah. And then he, for one reason or another, he reads a tweet or some article in Facebook or some news in a website. And then he loses his temper. And he thinks that if he got into such argument, he is serving the Lord, he is serving himself. And that's not true. Such people need to be left, okay? And because whatever you are trying to heal from their hearts, you cannot do it. You have no idea the amount of greatness they feel inside their hearts. That's one. Secondly, sometimes it could happen that you are arguing with the devils. Okay? And that is revealed in the Quran. وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّا لَمْ يُذْكَرِ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ وَإِنَّهُ لَفِسْقٌ وَإِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ لَيُوحُونَ إِلَىٰ أَوْلِيَائِهِمْ لِيُجَادِلُوكُمْ. This came in one of the legislations where Allah has forbidden certain food, certain types of meat. Okay? What He said, that the devils inspire their followers to argue with you. Why is halal? Why is haram? Who said it's haram? Why you are being tough to people? Why you are thinking you are in control or charge of people? And then you are actually arguing with the devil. The only instruction here, not to argue back, but what? To be careful that you don't agree with them. They don't cause you fitna. Because the questions they raise, they are very twisted. Okay, so same meat. Okay, you are saying same meat, but this one is halal and this is haram. This is allowed, this is forbidden. And then they will raise lots of questions. And you can see that their criticism is very, very, very delicate. It could raise questions of doubt inside your heart yourself. Okay? And that is very dangerous. So you need to know before you argue. Now you know how to argue. It's said in good manner. Secondly, you need to know with whom you are arguing. First of all, there should be some Who are you? What are you looking for? And that's the dangerous of the social media. You don't know who you are, or WhatsApp, or whatsoever, or wherever, where you don't know who you are arguing with, and always you don't end up with the result you think you can get or deliver. Okay, so sometimes it could happen. Lots of questions, lots of doubts, lots of criticism is raised, not for the sake of knowledge, not for the sake of enlightenment, but it is actually for the sake of deceiving. And once you fell in that area, you will be in a big trouble. So you need to be careful in arguments or arguing with details of this holy book. Now, we know how to argue, and we know for sure that we need to know whom we are arguing with before getting into any sort of arguments. Now, what are the bases? So say I am about to get into a base of argument, okay? Whatever is the subject. Base number one, and that is very important, it's very crucial, that my whole belief system is based on the unseen. Okay? That is not hidden in Islam. Okay? That is, this religion is maybe 90% of it is based of the unseen. I believe in the unseen. And that should be very clear to you. That should be very clear to everyone knows you. Allah said in chapter 2 in Surah Al-Baqarah, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. What is the ghaib? Those who believe in the unseen. So for example, I believe in the throne of Allah. I never saw it. I cannot justify it. I cannot describe it. But for sure, 100% I believe in it. I believe in the angels. I never saw one. I know their names. Somehow in the Quran, they mentioned some of the names. I know Jibril. I know Mikal. I know they are angels of the Lord. I never saw one. I believe they have wings. I never saw them. I believe in the jinn, the goblins. I never saw one. I believe in the resurrection of the dead. I cannot explain the details of it scientifically. I believe in heaven. I believe in hell. And most of these, the belief system I have is based on the unseen. Why I am saying this? Because don't think it's because called a belief. So when you believe, it is related to the heart, not to the logic of the mind. I don't know how Allah will resurrect all these billions from the same land. But it's not a point of questioning for me. That's a base. I do believe of the unseen. And that message needs very clearly to reach about the Muslims, to whomever wants to get into any sort of arguments, that I, as a Muslim, believe of the unseen. And there is no way I can justify this for you. Why I believe in the unseen? Just because it is mentioned in the Holy Book, that means by default, 100%, I believe in that description. And I am not in position to describe that for you, or justify that for you, or even explain it for you, because sometimes even myself, I cannot describe it because I didn't see it yet. Why I am saying this? Because people, when people get into arguments, they think that for every verse in the Holy Book, they can justify, they can explain, they can describe, and that's not true. Okay, that is not true, 100% not true. And so what sort of an argument that needs to be made clear, that the base, I believe, of the unseen. Why I am saying this? Why I am saying this specifically? Because we'll come to the next base, which is no one. So I believe in Allah. I believe in His punishment. I believe in His rewards. I believe in His names and supreme names. I believe in His authority. So now, Base number two, there is no one on this earth or in the heavens is in the position of questioning the Lord or his commands. Okay? That's part of the belief of Allah. Surah Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, said, لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. No one questions him about what he does, but they will be questioned. And now that is why it's very important, because some of the arguments, some of the debates are not meant for intellectual conflict. It is never that way with the Muslims. Okay? So I'll give you example. Say, why you pray 5 times? Why not 6? I don't know. The only thing I know that I have to pray 5 times because Allah commanded us. Why Allah allowed this? Why He forbidden that? Why did He forbid work? I don't know. It's forbidden. Khalas, that's it. That's a closing point. It's forbidden in the Quran. Now, because getting into these questions you're trying to explain, you are getting into an area which yourself don't know. And you are not allowed to speak in the name of the Lord of something you don't know. Now I'll give you a clear example. In BBC, they have like, I think BBC One or one of the channels of BBC. They bring Muslims and sometimes they bring scholars, and they discuss about Islam, the faith, and the theme is they are trying to get from several faiths and maybe atheists and whatsoever. They bring a gathering of people, different types of people, and they start to question some of the legislations on how to be implemented for the communities. And one of the examples they brought is the gay marriage. I think it's called homosexual relationship. Okay. So what they are saying that they are trying to enforce a law in the schools that the kids need to be taught, maybe at the age of or at the grade, maybe to a second grade or fourth grade, I'm not sure. They need to be taught to respect if they saw 2 parents from the same sex. So if they say 2 guys claiming they are husband and wife coming to school, they need to respect, they need to find it normal, and they shouldn't feel even that some confusions, okay? And if they say 2 women coming to the school, I think that was the argument, that they need to accept homosexuality in terms of marriage and parenting and these things. And that scholar, when you see this interview, you see that scholar is stuck. He cannot explain. He cannot explain his position. He said, this is not normal. They say, oh, it's very normal. It's very normal. Do you feel, they ask this gay couple, do you feel abnormal in any side? They say, no, I love this person, he loves me, we are fine, we're doing everything. So your argument has no base when you say it's not normal. Then he said, there is no love, okay? There is no feeling, there is no chemistry. And then they bring another 2 couple, I don't know, and they say there is big chemistry between them. They feel that love, they feel that thing. So the only answer was, or supposed to be, Allah has forbidden this act. I don't know why. And I cannot justify it. I can tell you Allah has forbidden this act. Homosexuality is forbidden in the Quran. Now, if you want me to get into the details of the consequences and what would happen, what would not happen, believe me, even if I live 1,000 years, I cannot get the exact answer, because this needs lots of trials and lots of experiences to understand. Like, what is the impact on the kids if they are raised with same-sex parents? I don't know. There are no statistics. There are no surveys. There are no polls. We don't know. Now, what are the impact if we see, or this has been practiced on the communities? What would happen? Because we know it's not natural. We know Allah created male and female, okay? Now, seeing two males or two females establishing families in communities, what are the impacts? What are the psychological impacts? What are the political impacts? What are the economical impact? We don't know. We need maybe 1,000 years to justify and understand why did Allah, what is the wisdom? What is the wisdom behind that? We don't know. And that's why we are believers. We don't question Allah, why He forbid and why He allowed. Okay? We could try to only wonder between ourselves or some discussions, but I can tell you no one can reach that level, because the argument or the arguer wants you to speak in the name of the Lord. He is asking you, because you believe in this Lord, justify Him, justify His commands in the Quran. And I am not in that position to justify Allah, because he doesn't get questioned about what He asked His slaves to do. The only thing that should be in the argument, is Allah the Lord of the heavens and earth, or is He not? That is allowed in the Quran. So is Allah the God? And then we can discuss the evidences where the Quran has informed and highlighted. And I'll come to this in the challenges part. That's we can discuss. But once we reach to the point that Allah is the Lord, Allah is the God, there is no right for any person to question His legislations in the Quran, regardless of who he is. And that's why lots of people get into this, what we call this hole, which it's very dark side, that you think you are justifying Allah's command. Now, another example, why Allah said in one of the verses that for inheriting inheriting from the dead, what He said that for the male is twice as the female. Justify it. I cannot justify. And I cannot justify. I know Allah has commanded this and I have to follow. People who say no, because He said that the male is doing all of this because he needs the money, also the woman needs the money. Or because of this, you are just trying. And whatever you claim, there will be someone will be coming and try, and he can unleash that justification in several ways. But the only explanation that is there, Allah has commanded this in the Quran. And once you reach this, unfortunately now these discussions we are having even with the Muslims. Now, not even with the other faiths, not with the atheists, but because the message has been twisted in a way that you think because you are a mullah or because you are a follower of this Quran or you claim you are a believer, you need to justify any sort of commands in the Quran for the ones, even for the Muslims. Now Allah said, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُمْ. Tell the believers or the female believers, do not show or expose what is called attractions attached to them. And it came to the word zina. Now, I don't know why He said this. I could justify it maybe to protect the woman, maybe to avoid any harm happen to her. What sort of zina is forbidden? But there is one command. Allah is asking the Prophet to ask or to reveal to the believers, female believers, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ. End of story. Now what will happen? When you get into details, you will get lost. You will definitely get lost. Anything that can be described as zina, attraction, then there is a direct order from the Lord to be what? Covered. And end of story. If you say this is only hijab is to protect the woman from rape, he said this doesn't make sense. Why don't you enforce the law? And then you'll be stuck. It's true. Don't bring justifications from your mind. Don't bring justifications from your heart. Don't do this. The only thing is Allah the Lord command this in the Quran? Yes, then sami'na wa ata'na, end of story. That's called belief. You are believing in some other issues higher, much higher than the issue of commands. You are believing in the throne of Allah. You are believing that there are 7 heavens. You are believing in the angels. And you don't justify that to anyone. You just believe. Same goes with the legislations. Why Allah forbid the profit or the interest of banks? I don't know. He said it's forbidden. End of story. If you say, no, this interest is having bad whatsoever, what that, this and that, they say, no, come, I'll show you. See the interest, how making people living better. Then you put yourself into a situation where no one asked you to do. It's forbidden for a reason. Allah knows that. I could try in when you are alone to wonder on this. But don't put yourself in the position of the Lord trying to justify His commands. That is very dangerous. That is very, very dangerous. And it will hit you with time. It will even hit and shake your faith. It will shake your faith with time because you yourself cannot justify it. See, you cannot justify it. And that's what people will ask you to do. Now, people will say, since these bases are here, since these 2 bases are here, what is left to argue about? You're saying that the Quran is one of the ways to learn, one of the ways to understand, one of the ways humans have adopted of a system to intellect each other. It was the arguments, and I agree with this. Debates can have benefits. There is no doubt in this. And the Quran, the Holy Quran, did not neglect or cover that part. It has made some subjects for arguments and challenges. And these should be the ones where you highlight. Okay? And one of the main challenges in the Quran, is the Quran itself. Okay? What I mean by this? Surah Al-Isra, chapter 17, verses 88. قل إن اجتمعت الإنس والجن على أن يأتوا بمثل هذا القرآن لا يأتون بمثله ولو كان بعضهم لبعض ظهيرا. 88. Say, O Muhammad, if mankind and jinn came together to produce the like of this Quran, they could never produce the like of it, even if they backed up one another. So someone said, challenge me. I said, easy, very easy. You see this book? It's available in one language, in Arabic. You gather the whole world, take the 6 billion, 7 billions in one table and try to produce a copy of it. Okay? Take the best scholars, take the best teachers, take the best intellectual speakers, take the best knowledgeable people in the language, and bring me one book similar to it. Not the exact same, similar to it. In the teachings, in the telling of the unknown, in a precise and concise construction. This challenge is valid until the day of resurrection. And you see this verse, it's not saying only you as humans. If there is any way you can use any hidden power, such as the jinn, and you work with them in cooperative ways to produce one book like this, khalas, you have invalidated this Quran. So please be my guest, take it, this book, read it, and try to produce something similar. And let's see. This challenge, and everyone knows it, is now sustained 1,400 400 years ago or more. Not the Arabs since the ages of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ up till this day, if all universities, all colleges gather together from all countries to produce something like this Quran. And that's a challenge. You say this book is not from the Allah. You say this book is not worthy of following. No worries. Please be my guest. Then the challenge has been raised to another level. In chapter 11, in Surah Hud, verses 13, أَمْ يَقُولُونَ افْتَرَى. Do they say this is invented? No issues. قُلْ فَاتُوا بِعَشْرِ سُوَرٍ مِثْلِهِ مُفْتَرَيَاتٍ. Then produce only 10 chapters. The easiest chapter is chapter Al-Kawthar. 3 verses. إِنَّا عَطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. There is no one in the world can produce a chapter or 10 chapters like this one. And that is literally true. Because Allah knows us. Allah created us. He knows our limitation. He knows the limits even of our brain. So please, produce 10 chapters. If you can, bring them. And no one, we will see, will it result in believing or in mockery? Then this challenge has been raised to a higher level, where in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, it said, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَىٰ عَبْدِنَا. If you have the doubts about the commands of Allah, about the details, about the revelations available in this Quran, then all what you have to do, just produce 1 chapter like any one of them. You know Surah Al-Ikhlas, 3 verses. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Sorry, 4 verses. Bring one like this. In terms of construction, precision, details, okay, and rhythm, all of them, just bring 1 chapter. And by the way, all these knowledgeable people during the ages of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, those the one who are the top into the language of Arabs, and they couldn't produce even 1 chapter. And that this subject is a subject of argument. Amazingly, you don't see this in the news, and you don't know one like this challenge. If you say, let's argue about why Allah legislate that there is 100 hits in the back of the committer of adultery, you will see everyone wants to discuss that. Why Allah forbid? Where is the mercy? Where is the punishment? What is that? What is this? And they feel very great. But tell them, bring 1 chapter. Everyone will be running away. You don't see this in Fox News. You don't see this in BBC. You don't see this subject in the universities. Why? Because they know this challenge. And it's not a secret that they tried between them and themselves when they are sitting alone, those who are studying the religion, those who are wanting to attack this religion. They tried. They were not brave enough to announce that. Because the only thing they will do, they will prove that they were wrong and this Quran is right. And by the way, this challenge, regardless of how much we move forward towards science and technology and teaching methods and whatsoever, okay, and linguistic departments and history, this challenge is valid until the resurrection day. And that's a challenge for argument. Why no one can bring a Quran? Why no one can invent a Quran? So you cannot invent a Quran and the Quran is challenging you, but you want to challenge the details inside. You want to raise questions about the legislations of Allah. You want to question the Lord. In the book, He challenges you that you bring something similar, and it's available. Now you see this in front of you. What are the verses of the Quran? They are letters. You bring the Arabic letters and you join them together, and then you write a statement. That's it. This is the Quran. When you say Qul, this is letter Qaf and Lam. and it gives you one word, qul, say. So the letters are available, the words are there, you construct one. Why you can't? Why you feel that weakness? And why humanity has not addressed this challenge in the world? So if someone wants to argue, say, okay, no problem. We could argue on all the details of the Quran, but first you need to challenge this book. Once you do so, and you win, then maybe you have the right, because this Quran is from the Lord. So if you think you are at the level of the Lord to question his legislations, no worries. Bring one Quran. You cannot bring a Quran, and here the authorization that even you can seek whatsoever help you can. It's allowed. Not one person. This Quran came from Allah alone. But the challenge, all humans can gather all in one table. 7.5 billion or 8 billion now, if they reach that number, they can all gather together in one table and they try to produce something similar. And it says you cannot. See, see the challenge? It said you cannot do this. You could never produce the like of it. That's a challenge for the mind. Okay. Challenge number 2. When they said, okay, you are saying all these legislations, we cannot question the deeds of Allah, we cannot question the commands of Allah, we cannot question the Lord, and like that. Okay. So what is left for us? Another subject of challenge is the logic of control. Okay, and that you can see this in Surah Al-Baqarah chapter 2. So ألم تر إلى الذي حاج إبراهيم في ربه أن آتاه الله الملك. There was a king by that time, and then إذ قال إبراهيم ربي الذي يحيي ويميت قال أنا أحيي وأميت. قال إبراهيم فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأتي بها من المغرب فبهت الذي كفر والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. With some authorities we have in this life, we think we are gods and we think we can question the Lord. That's how arrogant we could get. Okay, that sometimes you have small authority, very small, fractional authority, and you think you are just like God. And that one king, this is the story of one of the kings during the times of Abraham. When he said to him, Abraham said, my Lord is the one who gives life and causes death. This king said, also me, I give life and cause death, because I can kill anyone and I can leave anyone alone. So I don't kill him so he can live. And of course, Ibrahim alayhi salam did not argue that, because this is very critical to argue. This is not the argument of the cause of life and cause of death. He is arguing the authority to leave someone alive and someone dead. Now, what Abraham did, he shifted the conversation to something bigger. And that doesn't mean what he stated is correct, because even if he has some authority to kill or to leave a person alive, still Allah's commands are higher than that. But he shifted the logic to another or something bigger. He said, God brings the sun from the east. Every day, God brings the sun from the east, and that's a fact. We know that the fact that the sun is obeying Allah in its movements. This is, we believe in this. Okay, so you are a God, bring it from the west, and that's all. That's all what you have to do. All what you have to do is try to control the sun, the movement of the sun. And I believe you have some authorities here. You have some bigger what you call powers that's supreme, the powers of the Lord. So he couldn't answer that, because it's true, he cannot control the sun. The sun is working specifically and accurately as Allah has ordered. That's one subject of challenge. Said, okay, fine. You see this, no one is asking about this. They say, oh, nah, that's nature. No, that's the nature is going like this. In this precise or in this precision, in the fraction of seconds, the rotation of the sun, the movement through the seasons, this is all by coincidence, that there is no cosmic conflicts happens. You see the movements of the earth day and night in precise calculations in millions of years. This is all by coincidence. Okay? And the seasons and all of this system together is all by coincidence. That's what they say. And no worries, no worries. If you put that claim, you bring now the proof for it. And up till date, even the science cannot prove it. They don't know. So how can they attack or question the Lord and his commands in the Quran? That's very important. So if they are looking for a challenge, if someone wants to argue, don't argue in the very deep or details of the legislation. That's the last part. You need to question first, is Allah the Lord or he is not? Then you question, why did he forbid and why did he allow? Because if you agree that he is the Lord of the heavens and earth, by logic, you have no right to question what he forbids and what he allows. The debate is over. So any debate comes in the legislations of the Lord, in the Quran, it should be before there should be a session, is Allah the Lord or not? And that's what they try to avoid, even the Muslims today, even the Muslims. When they want to discuss, and that's very dangerous, what they want you to do, they want you to act like a God to justify the commands or the legislations of this book. And you are in no position to do this. I don't know why he forbid gay marriage, I don't know. But I know he forbid that. And I know he will punish those who commit that. But you want me to justify this for you? For the sake of confusion in your feelings? Or confusions of your worshiping to Allah? No, that it doesn't happen this way. Why did Allah forbid this? Why did Allah allow this? And these questions, when it rises and you lose that base, remember when I mentioned the base that we believe in the unseen, then you'll get lost. You will 100% get lost. And you will start questioning like them. Yeah, why? Why actually there is a punishment? Why actually there is a heaven? Why he selected men to be prophets? Why not females? Why not women? Where is women's right? And lots of questions you could raise. And you want the scholar or the mullah or the one who said he's a believer to justify Allah to you. And this, you see, this is your ego issue. That if you have the power to go and question the Lord himself, you will do it. And when you confront someone and tell him why you are feeling that much of arrogance, why you have this much of courage, he said, no, we respect Allah, we just don't respect these scholars, we don't respect these legislations. It's the same. This legislation, the Quran, I'm not talking about the one where there is like we call khilaf, whether someone said it's allowed, someone says it's not. This is another subject in the fiqh. Okay, that's another subject. But I'm speaking about the firm and 100% known legislations in the Quran that should not be questioned. Okay, another example for challenge in chapter 56 Surah Al-Baqarah, and by the way, there are lots of them. He said that when it has reached the throat, and he's speaking about the death, and maybe some of you have witnessed that. When you have some of your beloved ones, they are in their last days, and you see that they are dying, okay? So their soul, it is reaching their throat, and they are starting to lose control step or gradually, step by step. And you are looking on, you are looking at that uh, person who's dying, and Allah is telling you, we are nearer to it than you are, but you don't see. Because now there is a command for the angel of death to take that soul. If you are not held to account, if you don't, if you because you don't have control, then bring it back if you are truthful. You need to control the death and life. You say you are a God. You say you are in position to question God's decisions. So when you see this scene, don't let that soul go away. You need to order that soul to remain in that body and continue the life of that person if you can. And honestly, no one can stop the death. No one can stop this act. This is just as similar as the order to the sun every day to rotate and to move from east to west. No one can control. So by that logic, okay, when you have this arrogance that you can become a god or you can question the Lord, this is another challenge. And that subject should be in the BBC, and it should be in the Fox News, and should be in everywhere, and it should be in Twitter and everywhere. Said why we cannot work, study 100 years, study 1,000 years in the universities, and try to understand what is the soul, what is the secret of life, why we are alive, and why there is a decision one day comes and then we are gone. Where is that soul? Why the body is useless? Why it has no value anymore that we throw it under the ground? That's a challenge. That's the challenge. You are challenging the one who created the system. Fine. Here is the space. Have it. But see, there is a different now aspect of discussions between discussion the legislation. Why he forbid work? Why did he forbid the goats or other meats which are not slaughtered in the way as Sharia law? It's the same meat, and if you try to justify, you cannot justify this. Same meat, same taste. And then maybe they will say, no, it's more healthy, maybe Allah wants. We don't know. The only thing we know that Allah forbidden that. And that's it, full stop. If you are questioning this, come here. There are some parts in the Quran for challenge. Once you succeed, then we can discuss. Because then you can claim yourself that you cause death and cause life. And you can control the cosmic, all cosmic aspects or all cosmic phenomena. What we know is only teeny tiny of the actual knowledge, actually. Okay? So, as I said, there are other challenges. By the way, I only chose these two examples because they are very clear. But there are lots and lots and lots of examples in the Quran where it can feed this ego for arguments with the Quran. I selected only two, okay, just for giving the picture of the examples because of the time. So to sum up, arguments, how to argue, and to understand whom we are arguing with. And then what are the bases before I argue that the other side needs to know. And then the ones who likes to argue more, then there are some challenges in the Quran valid until the day of resurrection. And this gives you also it gives you why you are attached to this book. You don't let people get you in doubt because you cannot justify the homosexual marriage. Then you feel that you are like have no mercy, or you don't have you don't have kindness, or you don't appreciate the love between two people, or you cannot just live with the community that accepts diversity. And they brings you all of these big words, and then you feel you are lost. You said, oh yeah, why did Allah forbid this type of thing? Maybe it's not forbidden. Maybe this Quran is not valid in this area. maybe, and then you start, because you cannot justify it. But just because your brain is stuck, cannot justify it, that's fine, because we cannot justify everything Allah legislated in this book. And the more you try to justify it, the more the other side will be happy. See, even them, they don't know. See, well, their belief is very bad. Their belief is very weak. The whole book they are believing in, they are themselves in doubt. You need to have firm belief. The base of belief that I believe that Allah has legislated this. End of story. You want to, because it's mentioned in the book. So you need to challenge this book. There are areas, challenge them. Once you do, we can discuss the legislations. But now, one of the top major, I could say, twists that Muslims has fallen into is trying to justify the legislations. Once you justify the legislation, you have taken out the wisdom. You have taken that sense of worshipping, because you worship Allah without questioning Him. Okay? You don't worship because you want justification. If you tell me why, I will worship you. If you don't tell me why, then don't think I will worship, because I am intellectual person. I am very smart person. It doesn't work this way. And that's what happens with the Bani Israel, by the way. When you read Surah Al-Baqarah, and I don't know the time, maybe we will finish, but I'll give you last 2 minutes. In Surah Al-Baqarah, this is the way Bani Israel were dealing with the Prophet Moses and other prophets the same way. Okay? Allah said, slaughter a cow. They say, no. Why should we slaughter a cow? First, define the cow. Define its details and tell us what it looks like. Then Prophet Muhammad sallallahu Prophet Musa alayhi salam will give them these details. Said, no, that's not enough. Tell us the color. And then Prophet Moses alayhi salam informed them of the color. Says, still not enough. Tell us more. Give us more details if you want us to worship your Lord. And exactly that's how they were talking. They say, قالوا ادعوا ربك. Tell your God, not our God. Tell your God how we do it. Then the Prophet Moses alayhi salam tell them the details again. Allah said, فَذَبَحُوهَا وَمَا كَادُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. They did that, but they almost do not do it. There was some resistance in their worship. Now you try to justify why slaughtering a cow in that area was an act of worship. I don't know. I mean, I am not in that position. You could study, but you don't get into that area. Anyways, I thought that this is a very important. There is one last slide that that's a conclusion. You should know that whenever we are getting as Muslims in any sort of arguments, there is only one mission for us, is to deliver the message, not to win. Allah said, whenever they argue, and this is for the Prophet Muhammad and his followers. You can read this verse in Surah Al-Imran, chapter 3, verses 20. He said, but if they turn away, if they don't accept, if they don't like, if they don't want to accept this message, then your duty is to convey the message only. This is not a personal debate. This is not that I need to win. This is not to be a star in Twitter or in Facebook. This is not to be a star in everywhere you want. No. This is a serious relation between a slave and the one he worships. So this has nothing to do with you. This is not a win-lose game. It's not a debate to win or lose. This is only that I have to deliver this message to you. But that's my duty is done. That's the way I do it. I only convey the message of the Lord. But whether you accept or reject, you're convinced or not convinced, that's a separate subject. So even if you are to get into any sort of debate like this, you need to know very well that you are there to only deliver the message, not to win. And by the way, most of the debates that happen, whether between two faiths or three faiths, or between the internal faiths, uh, uh, it ends up that the majority are not convinced. They don't convert to Islam, and even those Muslims maybe they don't follow, and that shouldn't make you feel sad or feel weak or feel in doubt. No, because your mission, this is between them and their Lord. The only mission you have here is only to convey. That's it. The debates is meant to convey the message. I tell you that Allah forbid that. But whether you accept or reject, you believe or disbelieve, that's up to you. It's not my success whether you believed or not. Okay? Once you do this, you are in a firm situation. Your feet is in a firm land. Not in doubt. Wallahi, I give these lectures and I give these things, but no one believe me. And maybe. No, 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 it's not like that. That's when you teach math, when you teach physics, when you teach in schools. You need to know the results to know whether you did deliver or not. But in the Quran, it's not like that. So it's not a win game. So you don't feed your ego and try to mock sometimes. Maybe you cross the lines. Sometimes you make it as a mockery, and you see this a lot in social media. And they don't know that they are doing a destruction more than they do an instruction or construction in the message of Allah, just to feed their ego. I am the one. Okay, so that's the conclusion. I took a little bit more of your time, maybe 5 minutes. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope that somehow I highlighted something important in the Quran, and I hope you have we together have the benefits of this. I appreciate your attendance. Thank you very much. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.